This is Michi Hoyer, this is Avid Chronic Racing and ACR Zakspeed, and this is as I have leaked in before the GPVWC track with the Mercedes AMG GT3. So we're gonna have a special setup guide for you guys there. I know several people will be particularly interested in that run because that is actually the real start of the GPVWC World GT series coming up next Thursday, if I'm not mistaken there. And to be totally honest, things went a bit wrong here into first place. So I am still readjusting things. It's just now because the stream started earlier on, some sort of. I just decided to go in and start a little earlier today. So here we go. This is the next episode of a setup guide, and I'm gonna do this on my own more or less. And I hope you guys will have some fun and also enjoy racing with me or running with me right here. So we're already sitting in the lobby. We got a static railroad, so every set and change we're going to do is going exactly into the performance of the car, which will not be driven by either fuel loss or whatever. So starting off with some very basics, we look at the general, we look at the suspension, everything set right here, chassis nothing to adjust. And we look at the advanced and we take the hard tire. This is totally alright at the beginning, and everything we do is take up the maximum pedal force to then take the car out for the very first time, looking how it feels. And I got not on too much, but I will bring on this little graphic here down there. So going out of pit lane. And you guys, feel free to ask me any questions whatsoever. Right here, sitting in the Mercedes GT3 of ACR Zakspeed. You guys will have a chance to have a look at the iconic livery once we are going back into the pits, looking to some setup adjustments. Hey Nicholas! Thank you for joining, and hey Joris, hey everyone else, Thomas, I have seen you here as well. So great you guys are here with me. And I quickly get rid of the rFactor 2 glitch by using the wipers for the very first time in this car in order to make that wiper go down. Car is a mid to front engined classic GT3 car. It has not too much downforce. For example, the Bentley GT3 car has a lot more downforce than the Mercedes. Furthermore, the Mercedes has the characteristics of being extremely strong in third and fourth gear corners, power-wise. And you guys will also notice on the dash that I kinda not rev too hard on the RPMs. Shifting a little earlier. This is because the Mercedes engine is designed to deliver a quite fair amount of torque and power in low RPM areas. So that is the reason why we take it a little more easy on the engine. Probably not even reaching 6th gear. So we're only going to use first till second. And it's a bit of a shame that Robert is not here because he's a really expert in this GT3 car, so he would be able to adjust our setup even more. Thank you very much there for your feedback, Glimmeril. Actually, this DX11 update is quite nice. Car is really twitchy in the rear end, I have to say. So coming around turn 3, this is the first time lap, and it's going to be some kind of a benchmark to us. Thomas, to be totally honest, I'm not going to stream any official FSR races or test sessions, simply because every little information you give away can be then turned around into a disadvantage. Because, you know, at some point you have to be so damn careful. And when talking to my engineer during the races, our opponents and contenders find out the way we work and what kind of stuff we're focusing on mid-race. So we want to keep that a bit secret. Hence why I'm not going to stream any kind of Formula Sim Racing races here publicly. I will refer to it a bit more on the Patreon thing, on my Patreon page, but also I hope that the guys have some respect to that being rarely used as well as platform of sharing information. But I will keep you guys updated throughout the season what's going on here, so you definitely will have the chance to catch up on Formula Sim Racing things. So we're coming around final turn to take the first flying lap, which is a 2 minute 5 flat.
5.01.
And we just see whether we can improve this right on the first run, because we're sitting on hard tires. That means it might need a lap or two until they warmed up completely. But as we already spun out, we're gonna take a first look at the setup here. Yes, Thomas, there will be an official stream. I will update on my personal Facebook page, and I will also update on the Patreon side. So, looking at the car, it's very twitchy right there, and looking at the dampers, they are all set at the very same rate. Right, so the first thing I want to set is a lot softer rear, like 2 clicks. Because as you have seen, the car is twitchy in the very back, and that literally means that the rear suspension is not able to handle the side movement and handle the acceleration correctly. So right when I step on the gas, there is a lot of roll movement right there, which keeps me losing traction. Furthermore, the car feels completely fine to me when it comes to braking, but it feels a bit aggressive when coming towards acceleration, and that is the reason why I now put up the slope bump a bit, because that means as soon as the weight from the front comes towards the rear on acceleration, this process of pushing or bumping the spring together is slowed down a little bit, which should give me more time to react on all the things happening right there. So we go out, check whether we can improve on the next set. As you guys have seen in the league before, I already did some laps to warm myself up, also including some recording for GPVWC, which you guys gonna see on the next Thursday on the live stream if I'm not mistaken. And now we have a look whether this little setup change already played into our hands. Klimiril, that's interesting what you say there. What I do not like about this iRacing thing is that they are kinda prohibit and forbid you to use live telemetry, analyzing tire data and stuff. I heard you will be banned if you do, though, examining the tire data during the drive, and I don't know why this is the case. Because real life teams obviously do that a lot. They really rely on those data, and I do not understand why they are not available for users of iRacing, or why they should be not allowed to see it. To me, this is a clear hint that there's some glitchy activity going on in the tire files, which the public is not allowed to see. For me, the car still has too much turning going on. That will mean I will turn down the steering lock on the next setup change. There's a very hard preload also when shifting through the gears. Yes, Ducati, you're absolutely right. You can use the data for analyzing it after the stint and for practicing. But you're not allowed to analyze it mid-drive to have the tires into the right range, just as you say. As you can see, the car feels a lot better on the actual balancing. It's still rolling a bit or sliding a bit too much at the rear end to my liking. But it's by far better than before. And in this upcoming hour of setup guiding, I won't be able to fully explain and fully build a perfect setup for this car. However, you guys will be able to run and see a basic set that works pretty well. So we're coming around towards the back straight. We have a good 3/10 advantage over the first run. Final turn to be done. And Eric, I so much agree.
0.51.
So we improved by a good half a second. This is surely because of a lot better car balance. That works a lot better to my hands. Still is not perfect though. As you can see, the rear end still being a lot twitchy and sliding around, which also has to do with the high steering lock I'm currently still using, so I need to change that. It does not like curbs yet, so we're gonna have to change this as well. As a general rule, you can say that the slow bump and slow rebound settings are the ones to use when you want to have a different balance while braking and while acceleration, because the movement of the suspension is considered to be a little bit slower than a sudden shock given by a curb or a bump. And that's the reason why for curbs and bumps you adjust the fast bump and rebound settings on the suspension. Thank you very much, Miss Vigas. We're coming around final turn to then park the car and do the next setup changes.
That was a 2.
That's good 10 slower there, so no improvement on the second lap, which means that tires are warm enough after the in lap. Right, so the car just is a bit too twitchy when being in acceleration and deceleration, I feel that the car also steps out as soon as I turn on the wheel. This means I further increase the slow bump for acceleration, and this time I also increase the slow rebound for deceleration, because that means now when braking towards the front, the weight is being kept longer at the rear for quite a bit some time, enabling us to have the weight on the back, which gives us downforce in the back, resulting into grip. Also, we see that the fast bump is setting off the car quite heavily. So we soften the fast bump so that the compression of the car, the compression of the wheel, the upwards movement there of the suspension is easy. However, we stiffen the rebound in order to not get that bouncing and jumping possibility on the wheel, so to have it fixed on the ground and therefore making it not jump up again, because this rebound is now being a bit slower. That means as soon as the spring is compressed, it uncompresses or depresses a lot slower. If you make this fast, you know, it might swing like a pendulum, and that will kill your rear traction. Hey Dragon Model, thank you so much. Thank you for being here. Looking at Packers right now, I do not need them. Or basically I would have to look into Motec files later on to see whether we scratch on the ground. You not actually have to change on the Packers there, Miss Figures. If you lower the spring rate and make the spring softer and your ride height is high enough, the car might still not bounce on the ground, and then you don't need to adjust the Packers. Also, looking at the tires here, we want to have that positive toe in at the rear for more stability. However, because the turn-in is a bit too sharp, I want to decrease the toe out at the front. And also on the front end side, what I just did in the back, I need to do vice versa on the front. So if I want to have a slow moving weight on acceleration towards the back, like with this setting, I want to have a stiff rebound from the front, so keeping the weight more at the front there. This should help the turning as well. I also reduce, as already insisted, the wheel range, and the preload is pretty stiff. Let's see what we can set there as a max, and as a low is 1. So it's right there, it's pretty centered. However, the change between power and coast is pretty bad, so we stiffen it even further. Hey Wolfgang, yeah, my weekend started 3 hours later than usual, so I'm still a bit stressed out, but it's literally alright. Yeah, no, then I would say we keep like this and see whether we can have an improvement on the car. I expect the car to be a lot more stable right now. Let's see whether we have exactly this. Could obviously also be the case that the car is set up too low in the rear end and therefore bottoms out on the bumps, which then creates a extremely stiff suspension. So I may have to readjust that by trial and error right now, or look at Motec data. But right now I feel on the acceleration out of the corners the car is a lot stronger. Let's see if it still slides over the curb, not as hard as before. So the change in the rear end with the fast dumpers definitely worked there. Oops. Come on, stay with me, stay with me. Not into the wall. Pneumonia, and I am, oh, how is this called? A consultant, that's what it's called as a main area. So I'm a company consultant, and we consult companies on subsidies being given by the government. So if there is research and development projects, I'm going to take command of the financial and economical control, god damn it, of those projects being done then. So that is what I consult my customers for. Hey Yuri, thank you for joining, and I hope that is a joke that your friend would actually be helpless. Otherwise, obviously that's good, that's nice feedback to me. Great balance there out of the exits. Nimeon, I will explain it to you in German later in the chat maybe. So a bad idea in that car is definitely touching the curbs at all. They will definitely unsettle the car a fair bit. Also, I feel that the brake pedal wants to make the car spin when being in trail braking mode. Which also doesn't help the balance. But overall, on throttle, the car balance is a lot better. Also the reason why we are now 2/10 down. And we simply lost them here, I think. See if we can keep them with an alternative line around turn 13. Out of the corner. We will do a second lap because there's still some potential being down in the set. And Ms. Figures, you're absolutely right. Some setups just work on a specific racetrack, like setups from Monza.
That lap was a 2.
So we kept 1.5 tenths still, making it a 204.3 meanwhile. Let's see if we can somehow improve Sector 1. Oh Yuri, I have no idea because I'm not racing this series. I'm not really racing this car fairly often. But currently I'm sitting on hard tires, and with full fuel I would recommend high 205s, low 206s with a proper set in competition. Should be something to aim for. So first sector was improved by closely 1.5 tenths. We have a very clean run so far through the second sector. If we don't spin out here, this could be even faster. Turn 9, hard on the brakes, broke too late though. Yeah, half a second. So we have a quick look into pit lane, how the car is feeling there, and see whether we have something to deal with on race day. Like if we would race the car there. What Queer Driver says there is very right. Basically, a setup is not really to make a car faster into first place. A setup is there to adjust the car balance very much to your liking. This is why, for example, Lewis Hamilton cannot deal with setups from Valtteri Bottas and vice versa. So Valtteri Bottas found the perfect balance for himself in Sochi, and they gave him the set to Lewis Hamilton, who could do shit with it and just came fourth there, having no chance whatsoever. So a setup does not really push your speed, it just pushes the balance and change the balance of the car, so you actually have a chance then to make more use of the car's performance there. The car felt literally fine on the exits. It felt pretty magnificent there. To me, it just was not perfect yet on the front. This is why I wanna increase the anti-roll bar on the front, making the front end a bit more stiff, allowing less roll in the front while still keeping the roll at the rear. This should help the overall balance. Nimeon, as you have maybe followed the Avid Chronic Racing pages the past couple of days, we just revealed our Formula Sim Racing runners there, and I'm going to drive in the Formula Sim Racing 2018 season in the World Championship series. So I also increased the rear right height a fair bit, by half a centimeter. This is just because, as you guys have mentioned when changing spring rates and stuff, because I made the spring rate softer in the rear end, this might have just been enough in order to make the rear end bounce and bottom out. To prevent this, I increased the rear right height to give the suspension a bit more travel, and this has a nice side effect. With the front end still being that low, the car is standing more into the flow of air, which will have a positive effect on the overall aerodynamics. Red Bull is like Formula 1's team Red Bull Racing is over exaggerating that a fair amount of bit. So what they do is having a so-called high rake. With this being the car, I now did that to the rear end, so the rear end is lifted, having more rake, or a higher rake, as you say in professional language there, which allows the air to attack more of the bodywork. So the more you put it into the air in the rear end, the more area is being flowed by air, is being attacked by air, resulting in a loss of top speed, but in a gain of downforce. And to be totally honest, the top speed loss would be not as severe as you might have expected. I can have a look into Motec and might have a little reveal on my Patreon page about the data that I earlier on saw here before releasing it to the public. So quickly talking about this Patreon page, nothing will change on my program. There will be some kind of stuff happening for the Patreon guys only, but this is because we're gonna have a certain business going on there. However, most of the things the Patreon people see in early access will in the end be then published to the show, very similar to what the Simpit does. So to those of you who just sit here watching and have fun with me, no worries guys, there won't be any change or any quality drop on the stream for you guys there. So I definitely feel more aerodynamical balance. We again improved the first sector by half a tenth, and I think you will now see that the middle sector is going to be a lot stronger if I don't outbrake myself into turn 9 now. Which is not the case. Have a good acceleration out of it. And nope, no time gain as I would have expected it. So maybe that little mistake at the exit of 8 just costed too much time there. The car feels more balanced than ever though. Sitting a bit too long on this exit curb there. Hey Ivan, thank you for joining. So let's give this a second try because there's definitely potential.
That was a 2:04.00.
You mean a delta lap time slider like there is in iRacing? Yes it is. As soon as I'm back on DX9 or activate another HUD, I'm currently not having access to obviously because sitting here racing. But yeah, I can do that for the next show. To be totally honest, I'm missing it a bit as well because what feels fast and what is fast are two different pairs of shoes in the end. Anyway, another half a second, sector 1. Close before finishing sector 2. And this time we have the improvement by 2.5 tenths. So, turn 11, very good there. Now coming up to turn 12. Balancing the car with the brake, but overdoing it. Into the gravel we go. So there is still potential to find for me, and I feel like this rake change definitely has improved the overall balance of the car. So we want to raise the nose by 1 click to give it just that when when you move up the throttle, the rear end, the front splitter may start stretching on the ground, so you want to prohibit that by raising the right height by just 1 click. Nimeon, I have not tried it yet. I've heard a lot from this SimHub stuff, but as I said, I've not tried it yet. So yeah, definitely wanna have a look into this very soon, and yeah, gonna have to see whether this is actually suitable for me. I heard that it is very demanding on the power resource, so that is a reason why I don't want to have it really. Also want to increase the slow bump pretty much because the car, when braking, the slow bump at the front's gonna be depressed. That should go a little slower so the weight stays in the back. With the engine sitting in the front end, you're gonna have this massive understeer issue. You have, especially around fast turns. I literally feel this everywhere. So with the weight being so much at the front, you want to have a way to somewhat get in a bit into the back. I mean, obviously weight on the front is good because it turns around the car, but if every weight is sitting right there in the front, the car just steers straight everywhere. So Nimeon, I should definitely have a look into the SimHub thing. What's the price of this? How does it work? Well, my rFactor sometimes even has its issue displaying 30 cars side by side, so I mean, I basically agree with you. My PC should be strong enough to operate it. Oh, this time it worked very nicely there. Beautiful balance around turn 13. So with a best lap time right now being a 2:04.0, I should definitely be able to ditch into the 2:03s with this current set I got on, because right now the balance just feels spot on there. So trail braking into turn 1, went well. Turn 2, out of turn 2. Brilliant acceleration balance here. Brilliant sector 1. Have you seen this? 3.5 tenths down. So we improved the balance of this car pretty much by raising the rear end, giving it a lot of rake. And also giving it more suspension travel over the curbs here. This could still be a bit more improved. But the overall car balance feels pretty nice to me. Make that turn, come on Michi. Turn 11. 4.5 tenths we gained throughout the lap till here. Balance the car through 12. Better this time, 13 coming up. It's always twitchy on the brakes. That is nothing special in this corner. Being a bit too conservative on the throttle out of 13 though. So we're gonna lose some time through the final sector, but I'm sure we can regain it.
That was a 2:04.31.
So we literally lost all the time through sector 3 there. I just need to do a proper lap again. Thank you very much, Quertreiber. I can see this at least in the web, in the restream chat here. And I see it in the YouTube chat as well. Coming around turn 8, good exit out of 8. Want to improve this lap definitely. Feels like the car braking balance is a bit too much at the front maybe. Aw, for God's sake. I'm still not really happy with the traction. This means I will increase the front anti-roll bar a bit further and even stiffen the spring rate at the front again, because I still feel it's bouncy on the front end, and I also will push the brake bias a bit towards the front because I feel the rear locking up, dancing around a bit on me. And then we try again. I'm pretty sure I can do a 203.6 or 203.5, which is definitely the target of this episode of setup guiding. And if you guys have any setup related questions or any other questions, feel free to ask them. The stiff anti-roll bar at the front definitely gives a better initial turn in. Like a good amount of turning momentum, which then turns into a good car balance. Definitely need to get this swinging around here for turn 11, which now feels great in the out lap. Turn 12. Bit too hard on the brake balancing there. And having brake bias more at the front should definitely help for turn 13 there. So once again, Dragon Model, thank you so much for your support there. Really appreciate it. And if you guys want to support the stream, want to support me throughout the journey, you find the link towards Patreon and the Streamlabs link in the description, as well as some additional further information I need to tweak at the end of the stream, because I haven't really had time for it to change it. Also, if you have special requests from me, something you definitely want to see happening on my channel, feel free to write me an email at hoyermichi@iVechronicracing.com. And now we're carrying like a bit more than 2/10 into second sector. Want to see if we can improve it now. To me, the coast of the car is a bit too much, so as soon as I go off the throttle, the car starts turning a lot. Love this Mercedes sound though. Turn 11, very nice turn 11. 7/10 we are down meanwhile, so this middle sector definitely was a blast. And this is not due to driving, definitely not. This is because the setup is finally in a balance. I can push the car a bit more. We might lose a bit of time on the back straight, really, because of the high rake. Well, Nemeon, I would have to drive the car first to get an impression from it. Whoa!
202.93.
202.9. So I smashed my target by a mile. Let's see if I can find a way to get a very decent lap in. The first sector coming up there. Very close to what we just did, but not quicker. Here you see, getting off the throttle, the car suddenly starts turning. very well. No, over braking the car now. Thinking about what I just could change in order to improve this car. I can't do too much about the torque. So let's see, let me get another run in. Could take the... Nah, I don't want to take the brake bias too much to the front. Maybe like this. Should still improve the braking.
That was a 2:05.66.
Yeah, Glimiril, you are right. It's a bit like Barcelona. You could be a sitting duck on the long straight when running high downforce, but you cannot make a move somewhere else anyway. So we're missing a 10th. Trying to balance the car with the brake through 5 and 6. By balancing the car, oops, too bad. So how do you balance your car with a brake? This is the reason why people do trail braking a lot. And I want to lower the camber. I think it's too much at the rear end. And we're then gonna see whether this car improves a bit further. So coming back to the point, how to balance your car mid-corner, and this is the reason why people in the Porsche 911 GT3 on iRacing do it a lot, because they have to do it, otherwise this car does not turn at all. And it's a basic thing that works for literally every car available. So when you touch the brake just a tiny little bit, you make the weight available move towards the front, which then increases the power and the downforce on the front end, making the car turn a little more or too much in that point. I can show you exactly what happens in turn 7 when I'm on through there. You know, you go in there, you turn in and hit the brakes, and then suddenly the car starts turning towards the right even further. And this is not because you simply reduce energy and friction because of reduced speed. This is purely because the weight moves towards the front, making the rear end loose and actually starting the car to turn around, you know. So Glimiril sums it up pretty well. This so-called trail braking is so important to race those GT3 cars in not only in real life, also in the simulators. And if I would done it better in World Fastest Gamer, I might have been the one or other spot more at the front rather than being in the top 10 at the end of the final. But shoulda, woulda, coulda. It's lessons learned, and maybe we have a chance to prove ourselves in the future. So taking it to a final try, hard on those brakes. I think that was a decent exit out of 2. coming up towards turn 4. Another 3/10 found there. Nah, I'm not sure whether this brought us any time or lost it to us. Rear end stability has increased a lot to my liking. Small mistake. Out of 10. Nice turning momentum into 11 because of trail braking. Another 4/10 were found. Balancing through 12. A bit too long on this exit curve there. Nope, understeering out of the final turn because we did not enough trail braking, not enough turning in the car, so we lose time.
2:02.73.
Happily, still 2/10 remained in the end. Nope, too fast around turn 2. Very same problem with balancing the car. Just curious if we can get a perfect sector 3 in. Oh yeah, we're missing already 3/10 here. Very nice turning around 7 and 8 though. Have we improved sector 2? Nope. But we only lost 2/10 with that mistake there. But we will lose a fair lot amount of time through sector 3. Taking a total different line right there. A bit better exit, final turn, but still I think we lost even more time. Gained just a little bit. So let's combine all 3 sectors, make it a good lap. Too late on the brakes. Into a spin. But anyway, we want to have a look at the fastest lap from the outside, and then I will give you a hug into the weekend there. So there we go. And I will be now ready to get yourself some questions answered. Yeah, Glimerilla is actually right. What you're missing in those cars here right now, obviously, is the so-called popometer, we call it in Germany. So the ability to feel the forces, to feel the G-forces and the acceleration forces. And I'm sorry for the livery to be a bit blurry from the outside there, Probably there's something wrong in the shaders or with my in-game settings. As you can see, the full HD render of the cars being taken as a thumbnail here. So yeah, pretty much that was the basic setup I've done for this circuit, for this race. And if you guys are curious and want to getting it, I will spare it somewhere in my storage. And yeah, I will make it available to you guys there on the Patreon if you need it. It's there, as the Patreon offers some setup guiding, some setup help. We have my personal and technical engineer on there as well, so there is a good bunch of knowledge. And the car looks so heavy and so high mass there, it's ridiculous. No problem there, Glimmeril. I'm glad you guys having some fun. So with this final turn being to come up, and now you will see the mistake being a bit away there, understeering it towards the exit there, losing a good 2.5 tenths. We're coming across the line doing that 202.7. So I think, who was it? Yuri, you asked me what would be a decent lap time with full fuel. Probably I would have to correct that from a 206 down into a 204, 205 maybe. At Matthias, I am running 400 degrees currently there right now. So as well in-game as on the Logitech Profiler. Alright chaps, thank you so much for being here, thank you so much for watching. No, I have to thank you being here really. You know, doing those videos without you does not really make sense in any way. So obviously sharing info, but sharing passion with you there, which is good. Kevin, it actually is quite hard to not overheat them tires, but here's a top tip. If you overheat the tires, A, turn less on the wheel, and B, maybe go 5 kph slower into the corner, but get quick out of it. Alright guys, other than that, thank you so much for watching. I wish you guys a good start into the weekend. This is Friday night, so go out, have some fun. I definitely go out, have some fun playing handball right now, and then we're gonna see each other during the weekend there. So thank you very much for watching. Goodbye.